Police union Ipusa blames former police commissioner Khehla Sitole for the lawlessness in the country. It says he caused untold damage while at the helm of the service. The union says he broke the thin blue line with poor working conditions. Let's discuss this with Ipusa General-Secretary Mpho Kwinika. Mpho, good morning and thank you very much for your time. Yet again, the police will be criticized today. I mean, we're now having trends of an Alex FM DJ having been killed in such a brazen manner for a phone and shoes. Firstly, your take on that incident.
Good morning, Sis Mfundo, and to your viewers. It is a very, very serious, tragedy which has befell the citizens of Alexander and to many South Africans who continues to be put under pressure by criminals who are acting with impunity, while the law enforcement agencies like the South African Police Service, it's still in slumberland. We are hoping that the discussions which we're having now are going to be able to try and shape the South African Police Service, not only to respond or react to crime, but be able to proactively deal with issues of crime.
The nation has honestly been very critical of the men and women that you as a union also represent, from that poor handling of the July unrest to allegations now of corruption. We would have heard in some of those policing imbizos, there seems to be a lot of corruption that is done by police officers with either drug dealers, etc. And this seems to continue unabated. What exactly is at the heart of the problem within the police force currently?
Simple. The breakdown in command and control. I think Ipusa have been talking to this issue for quite some time. We spoke about the issue of leadership in the SAPS, and starting from General Pierre, when she came in with a famous statement where she said that you don't need a drunkard, to run the service. It went on, to the then last national commissioner before General Masemula, where when he was appointed, we said it is not based on merits. His appointment is based on politics, because there was a struggle to make sure that the politicians sources what we call the grabber machine to the NASREC, ANC National Conference. Now, if you appoint people for that purpose, you are defeating the object of the Constitution, which says the president shall appoint a man or a woman in good standing and who is fit and proper to lead the service. Now, the ramifications of all this leadership are now coming home to roost.
You have a new commissioner now. But you have a new commissioner now. Yes. But when we go and we cover some of these imbizos, clearly this would be too much for him. It would be beyond him to resolve some of these issues because, I mean, the country is vast. You've got all these police stations. I mean, not so long ago, we had a report of the 175 guns that were missing at Norwood Police Station. That had nothing to do with any commissioner. It clearly had to do with greed, where you had police officers that were in possession of guns and decided to sell them to criminals. And the unfortunate part there is they knew exactly what the criminals are going to use the guns for. It's to kill citizens when they're meant to protect citizens. I mean, that really goes beyond a police commissioner, one would say. How do you correct that? Because it's clearly at the bottom.
Look, we cannot detach that from good leadership. We cannot detach that which you said now from the National Commissioner of Police himself. You must remember, let's go back to what we call back to basics. Back to basics gives you simple things that the police need to do. It deals with issues of visibility. What is visibility? We're talking about marked vehicles. We're talking about personnel that is in uniform. When we talk about a thorough investigation of crimes, look at what has happened with Senzo Mewa's case. We see people who are not supposed to be in that environment, invading that space, contaminating the evidence that is at the crime scenes. Politicians are also finding themselves in that environment, which does not warrant them. senior officers going into the crime scenes, causing a problem for junior police officers who have to salute them instead of them having to pay attention to the collection of exhibit at the crime scenes. The issue of the efficient utilization of resources, to investigate crime. There are vehicles that police detectives do not have. They are in the hands of senior officers who does not attend to issues of crime scenes. Police members do not have resources to go to crime scenes. They have to beg for that. Hence, they are taking too long to attend to these issues. The issue of crime intelligence to support policing. Me and you know that there are equipments which have been bought by crime intelligence, which are lying somewhere in a warehouse because they are having no operators, no people were trained to operate those instruments. And those instruments are needed, to help the police to track down on the suspects that are involved in the commission of offenses and to help them to have successful, prosecutions in court. Then we've got this targeted and informed deployment of resources. Every day in the morning, Mfundo, every day in the morning, the police at stations, at provinces, and even at national level, they are sitting and assess crimes which have been committed overnight through a structure called the crime combating forums. And these things should tell them exactly where they should deploy the resources which they have. The collaborative and consultative policy. Here we are talking about community policing forums. You know very well that people have politicized this structure. The people think that CPF belongs to the ANC. It does not belong to any political parties. That structure belongs to communities so that they can sit down and deal with issues of crime within their area of jurisdictions. So these are pure basic policing issues which the police needed to go back to. Mm-hmm. So look at the issue. You gave an example of Norwood. These are proliferations of firearms issues. We've got everything at our disposal, the laws that governs these things. The reason why police officers find themselves with guns, it's for one is to package the firearm that is found from the crime scene up until it goes to the National Head Office for investigations, where the IBs, the Integrated Ballistic Information Systems, captures all this information and keep it for future references. Those firearms, when they return, they are not supposed to stay long at a police station. If the owner is not known, they must go straight for destruction. There are those firearms which the courts give directions and says, hand over to a lawful owner. Why keep it for another day? There is an instruction, take it out, hand it over to the lawful owner. Now I'm going back to issues of management and the police having to do basic policing issues.
Mm-hmm. And then insofar as socio-psycho support for these police officers, because many of them seem to be so desensitized now to violence that whether a woman comes in having been raped or anything of their nature, they're not particularly moved. Is it perhaps that this has taken a toll on them? How much support are they getting, honestly? And maybe insofar as counseling is concerned, because we know they've raised concerns around the ranking, who in fact they get to open up to. They had a problem with that. You'd have station commanders not wanting to open up to somebody junior to them and having their issues disclosed and be seen as weak. What is the new channel, if at all, for them to offload some of these things that they deal with on a daily?
Look, it is a known fact that policing is a very stressful situation. It's a very stressful job. You need to have, again, management who are willing to provide support. But Sis Mfundo, I really need to say this to you, that the Employee Health and Wellness Program is a structure that is supposed to be providing support, mental support, to our policemen and women. This structure is stressful as well, is stressed as well. The level of leadership within the South African Police Service is so bad. It's very bad. It's survival of the fittest. No one wants to make a decision. They all run away from making decisions because they are afraid to be punished. Disciplinary processes in the South African Police Service is utilized or weaponized to do away with people who are not needed in the environment. If you look at the issue, of Regulation 8, the discipline regulations, a normal process that must kick in when a police officer has made a mistake. The police have found a better way of immediately removing them from the service by applying what we call Regulation 9. That is called expeditious process. Police officers are dismissed the day in and out, but external tribunals are bringing them back. But what we are saying to our members and to those employee health and wellness people who are affected by these things that are happening every day, if they cannot find help from within the system, we are asking them to contact us. We will refer them to hospitals and to other people who are outside there who can provide the same services which the system is failing to provide.
So meaning, Mr. Kwinika, the lawlessness and dysfunction that we are subjected to as citizens is as a result of the dysfunction that is within the force. That's what I'm getting from you, that what we're experiencing is a reflection of what is happening within the force. Then clearly the problem needs to be resolved within the force. There needs to be something done as a matter of urgency, if I get you correctly.
Yes, you're correct. The problem is with the SAPS, and the president have acknowledged that. That is why he has removed General Sitole when he was only left with 9 months to finish his contract. Things were untenable. The July unrest last year. And this year in July, we had promised South Africans that these things are not going to happen. Yes, indeed, the unrest, the riots are not happening. But the killing, the en masse killings of people are taking place every day and within this space of time.
And then now, it means, apologies there, we've just unfortunately run out of time. Then it means perhaps they need to stop with their imbizos and ask community members what is their experience on the ground, because clearly they need to now have a police imbizo where they deal with their internal issues. Mr. Kwinika, thank you very much for your time. That's Mpho Kwinika, General Secretary for the Independent Policing Union of South Africa. More news on